Hello, and welcome to Twin Peaking, where I show my friend Jay Kirsten Twin Peaks in order of my least favorite to favorite episodes, and we see if she can figure out what Twin Peaks is about. If you find yourself enjoying the show, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And that includes to Jay Kirsten at twitch.tv/JKIRSTYN. That'll also be in the description below. Without further ado, let's get started. So I guess we should start with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Sure. We'll start with the elephant in the room.
So we're recording this, like, what is it? The day after?
Literally the day after.
Just
Yeah.
the day after. David Lynch has passed away. So wild timing that we decided to start doing this.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. I was actually gonna save that news for when we were recording on air together to tell you, but you came across it, right?
Yeah. So it's funny because like normally with celebrity deaths, I'm not in the know until like days later. But it came across my feed of like, David Lynch passed away at the age of 73 or however old he was. And I was like, oh, and then like I kept scrolling on Twitter, but I was like, why is David Lynch like so familiar? Like that is a very familiar name. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. And then I scrolled back up and I'm like, oh wait, that's David Lynch of Twin Peaks. So then I clicked on the article and then I read it, but I was like, whoa, like I'm in the know of like of a celebrity death that like right as it happened. Like the tweet was maybe like 2 minutes old when I came across it or something like that. So yeah, it was kind of crazy timing of that happening.
Yeah, so like I didn't find out because like I'm behind on like recording my Persona stuff, and so was like focused on doing that, wasn't really touched like keyed into what was going on online and stuff. And I have like a few different people, Kaya being one of them, Kaya the first one, to reach out and be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And it's
oh
like,
my gosh.
Yeah, which is weird for me because like last month, like my dad died, and like I'm actually preparing to go to his memorial. But like so like I've gone a lot of that recently.
Right.
But like all of a sudden, all these people who like some of which didn't even reach out about my dad were like, oh my god, I'm so sorry about David Lynch. And like the first time when Kay is like, oh my god, did you hear? I'm so sorry. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And she was like,
oh no,
David Lynch
that's not
passed,
a great
and I was like,
yeah.
oh. And like celebrity deaths don't really get me, even like ones that like people I like know, not know personally, but like people I know and like I'm aware of, like Alan Rickman and like whatever, David Bowie, stuff that was even integral to like my childhood, right?
Right.
And even then, like they've never really affected me because I have like a good sense of distance of like, oh, this is fiction. They're celebrities. We're not related. They may matter to me personally, but like I only know them through media. It's not the same, right?
Right.
But like this is like the first celebrity death where I'm like, oh, I get why my mom cried when David Bowie died, right? Like I understand now, right?
Yeah.
And part of that may be because I'm like emotionally raw from my dad or whatever, but like, yeah, this is like the first celebrity death where I was like, oh my god. And then like news broke. I don't know if you've heard about this, but like the co-CEO of Netflix came out and said that they were working with David Lynch on something and he was trying to figure out a way to direct from home.
Oh, wow. Oh my
gosh.
Like that's
after,
sad.
Yeah, after he came down with emphysema.
Oh my
right?
Goodness.
It was like apparently they had already pitched stuff and agreed on it, but then he came down with that, couldn't leave the house, and like when that happened, he even made a statement of like, yeah, probably semi done or whatever, but I would like to find a way to direct from the house, and apparently like that's what that was in reference to.
Right.
This other thing so that's come out recently, that like they were gonna work on something together.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's yeah, it's crazy. And if all goes according to schedule, I don't know if I want to reveal this, but if all goes according to schedule, the first episode's actually coming out this Sunday. And so this will be like a month later when people hear this behind the scenes part where we part the kimono and talk about like, hey, I'll probably have a little intro bit of being like, hey, we were working on this before the news hit, but like, and this was already planned to be the weekend to do it. And so it was like, like,
that's heavy.
Yeah, for real. Which is really interesting too, is that you haven't gotten to any of the David Lynch stuff of the show yet. You've exclusively seen the stuff he's been walked away from. So like, but yeah, a true visionary, and you know the quote that keeps getting passed around because he said it himself, or is that like, you know, what in the announcement the family said like, there's a huge hole in the art world now, but as David Lynch would say, you know, focus on the donut and not the hole. So
yeah.
So we're gonna do that here, but it would feel wrong to just jump into the episode and not acknowledge this huge loss that's happened. So yeah. Outside of that, anything else you want to add? How are you doing? What's the pivot from there?
I'm doing okay. I got my toast ready to eat while we watch this. I decided, okay, twofold. I can't find my notebook. I don't know where the frick it went. So I've decided that I'm gonna try and watch this without my notebook to see how well like things stick out in my mind better, and like what I'm trying to. And I also want to like get to know the characters a lot better. And I feel like if I focus on that as opposed to like note taking, maybe we'll see. I'm experimenting today.
Okay.
So
maybe like grab a piece of paper and like after the fact, as we're discussing it, you can write down like notes post hoc or whatever. If that's what you decide to do. But yeah. Okay.
I'm excited. This is this is the episode that is before the last episode that we watched, right?
Yes. So far, in order, we watched 15, then 14, then 16, and now it's 13.
Now it's 13.
So this is the earliest you've gotten, but not that far removed from where we were at.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. I'm excited.
Okay. Are we ready to just jump in?
Yes.
Alrighty. Then I'll go 3, 2, 1.
Whoa.
Oh.
Oh.
All right.
All right. All right.
Okay. So that was episode 13, Checkmate. Season 2, episode 13, Checkmate. Is the title of that one.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so well, let's start with that then. How do you feel about that title? How it relates?
I don't think it relates to anything. That's why I'm confused, because I feel like it's the first move of Wyndham Earl. Like it's not like where the frick is the checkmate part? I don't it seems like it's, especially around the last parts of the episode, it's like it's the start of a bunch of stuff moving forward, you know? So I don't understand why it's called Checkmate, but
okay. Yeah, so that whole part where you were confused was the culmination of about 12 ish, maybe even more, like end of season 1 into season 2 episodes worth of like bad guy versus good guy that came to a head there. Where they were able to get the bad guys that have been kind of this lingering thing from the previous main thrust of Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
The kind of remnants of what people consider the good part of Twin Peaks, they are wrapping up here.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So that's where that kind of checkmate comes in, is they're catching these like big coke dealers, human trafficking people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see now.
But also it ties it in with chess, so that way, as the chess stuff happens at the end, it's like, oh, there's two things there. But yeah,
Okay,
definitely get what you mean by like, but it's just the start. What do you mean, checkmate? Especially for you, because this is the start of all the stuff that you're familiar, what you associate with Twin Peaks. This is the start of what that is, to be fair, for sure.
It does put, like, this episode does put a lot into... This is why I like watching stuff out of order, because this puts into context everything that I've watched so far. So, I don't know. I do like that. I think I like this episode more, but I think because it's clarifying on a lot of different points.
Yeah,
Which, like, that's not how shows should be watched. But, like, oh, this makes sense now. So, yeah, I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed putting the puzzle pieces together. I enjoyed seeing where the Dick storyline came from. Like, this is like, seems like it's in the middle of that storyline, but like, see, I do agree. We mentioned it during the episode, but seeing the dynamics of the two of them fumble around in the freaking child placement center was very comical. And I enjoyed seeing that in the middle of the episode. That was fun. That was cute.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed their dynamic, and I wish it lasted a little bit more. You still don't know how their dynamic started to get to this point.
Yeah.
Or where it goes from here, but there was a brief shining moment where they overlapped as not necessarily friends, but collaborators.
Yeah.
And that I wish was more. I love that dynamic. That kind of aspect of it, as well as a few other parts, like, are kind of why I like this episode more than the previous ones. There's one major thing that drops it a lot lower for me.
Okay.
But like, the IMDb rates this a couple steps higher than I rate it, just by 2 episodes. Funny enough, they rate their episode 17 here, 17 of season 2, while where they rate episode 13 a couple episodes later, I rate episode 17. So we kind of switched it around there. Spoilers, I guess, for my list. Whoops. But yeah. Okay, so a few questions here. You were introduced to some new characters.
Yes.
What'd you think about them?
Which characters were they?
So we had Ernie. We had Ernie, who was the sweaty guy who's a coward. The wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have Denise, who's the trans DEA agent.
Yeah.
We have Jean Renault, who was at the very end there, who gave the monologue about Cooper bringing the nightmare with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have I don't know his name. I don't think he's that relevant. He shows up in like 2 other episodes. And if I tell you what his actual job is, I feel like that's a spoiler in and of itself. So I'm gonna hold that to my chest.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll go through them chronologically. Ernie seems like an okay character. The coward. Like, it's a very typical, like, stereotypical, like, I definitely thought he was a bad guy. Probably turns into, like, thinks he needs to do pressured to do the right thing. Like, not a nice guy because he does nice things, but pressured to do the nice thing because other people tell him it's the nice thing to do, kind of deal. Which is always an interesting character to add into the mix. So we'll see where he comes from. Okay. I do like the trans character. I thought that was an interesting, especially at a time where, like, we'll have to see where the representation goes. I can't imagine the representation being that good because this show is from like the 90s. So, like, like, we'll see.
I'll say on that point that the worst part of the representation has already happened.
Oh, okay.
in the general consensus from what I picked up from like, you know, trans posts on Tumblr and people on YouTube. People are generally pretty positive about this.
Okay.
As a whole, partially because of what you said of like, it's one of the first shows to do this at where like
I was about
a
to
character
say,
isn't a character isn't the butt of a joke. It's not like, look, this person thinks they're like it doesn't do that necessarily.
Okay.
There's one other instance of outdated terminology, but like that is partially because language has changed and like our understanding of words has changed. They used the word transvestite at one point, but there were people who identified as that without having like the language to say, you know, trans woman rather than, you know, someone who enjoys cross-dressing, which is what we'd say transvestite is now, which is still separate, right? So there is a little bit of that, but like that's largely due to evolving terminology rather than actual representation.
Okay, well that's good to know because like I was concerned when I saw her. Not that I didn't want her there, but I was like, oh, is she gonna like? I was concerned because of the timing of the show. You know, it's like,
and we've also seen how they handled minorities before in the show.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, like, is this going to not be great? But I'm glad to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that.
So people are generally the other big thing about it is that like obviously should have cast a trans one for the role, and like, you know, even back then there were trans actors, they didn't get as many roles, you know, all of that. So that's obviously the big thing. But for as much as a TV show in 1991 that cast a cis man for the job could do, they did. The general consensus seems to be that they did a pretty good job.
Okay.
And you know, we should be happy. Never be satisfied with what we got, but be happy that it's not as bad as it could have been. As it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. My wall was up. My wall was up when I saw her. I was like, oh no, is this gonna be awful or is this gonna be?
I saw the actor name when this storyline first happened. I saw the actor name pop up, and then I was like, oh, David Duchovny, and then David Duchovny walks in, playing Denise Bryson. And I had the same instinctual reaction of like, oh no, especially since like I had been prepped to think like, oh, after this episode, it's the bad part of Twin Peaks until about episode 16. Yeah. Because most people like episode 16, which is the last one I showed you.
Okay.
So people were like, it's bad from, I think they say around episode 10 to 16. And so I was prepared for part of that bad to be like really transphobic.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like decent representation to the point where like, you know, sometimes when people do representation where it goes so far as to be like, and we're not representing any part of the actual struggles of it, and people are just like fine and they're a perfect being and this, that, and the other. And that's not good either.
Yeah.
You know? You know, as a cis man, I'm speaking out my ass, but I generally liked it, and it seems like that's the consensus. So
okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the big part that I didn't like, and almost the entire reason why I rate this so low is because of the not to interject my review into this part of it, but it just matches what we were talking about, is the scene where Denise walks in the suit and is like, you can call me Dennis or whatever.
Dennis,
right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, different people have different expressions of their gender, and like that can be fine for some people, whatever. But like, I hate that I can see through the plot of the episode and be like, oh, this only exists so that Denise can trick them later as the waitress. Right, in the waitress outfit, and like, while I like the aspect of like, you know, this person using their, you know, transness as a positive to be able to win the day and do that, like it's like, did this really You have to
It
have them
wasn't-
show up because
yeah.
it feels more appropriate. Why does it feel more appropriate? Because you're also going undercover in this to walk in and pretend to be a
Right.
drug dealer, right? Why
Right.
do you have to be a guy in a suit to do that?
Right.
Women can be drug dealers too.
Yes.
Like it's like it's only there so they can pretend to be a waitress later, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, you know, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit with the representation just to have this plot point later. And I don't know. That bugs me in a different way on a metatextual level that
That's fair,
sinks it
that's
so
fair.
much lower, you know?
That's fair. That's very fair. For the other characters, the main drug dealer guy.
Jean Reno.
Yeah, we'll figure out what more comes from him. I don't really have an opinion on him. He seems like he's a bad guy, but we'll see if he actually is a bad guy. You know, we'll see. And
Well, you saw the
then-
end of his story arc, so I think you can make a judgment on that.
We'll see. And then the other guy who's evil, he's got a mustache, the blonde one. I don't have an opinion on him either.
He kind of looks like my stepdad.
Yeah. Looks like
little bit.
Mac's stepdad.
Yeah,
There's
a little bit.
There's
Yeah.
the footnote. Yeah. And yeah, I think those are all the new characters. Oh,
yeah.
Mike.
That's right. Mike's new to you. I forgot about that. Yeah, because he's been mentioned before, but you were
Yeah.
introduced to Mike this time.
Yeah, okay. I love Nadine. I think she's like one of the best characters I've seen so far. She's great. But that whole scene with her and Mike it was just so awkward, and like clearly he doesn't like when Nadine was like, I'm gonna marry Mike in like the next couple episodes or whatever, when she tells Ed that, but like seeing the actual relationship between Nadine and Mike, like she looks like she's stalking the kid, and so like that's uncomfortable.
Yep.
As for Mike the character himself, I think he's funny. I think
Yes.
he's a funny character.
Like that scene, as upsetting as it is, I think that like it's important for certain things, like when you approach it, and in the show it's like, oh, the real world implications of this would be really shitty, but it's not the real
Yeah.
world, and this is objectively funny. Like this
Exactly,
is
it's funny,
actually
yeah.
a funny scene, and we should accept that this is fiction, and this is no way endorsing it. This is funny, like it's a comedic
Yeah.
beat. You know, and like there's so many things when people, like both in this show and in other things where people talk about stuff like this, where it's like, oh, the real world implications. It's like, well, you know, it's not the real world, and this
It's
is
not
very
the
much
real
not
world.
portraying
Yeah.
the real world, right? And so like that scene, as upsetting as some of the connotations are of it, is exceptionally funny. I love his
Yeah.
entire monologue. I'd be like, you know, like, maybe we could share pie, and he's like, no, you know what? In fact, I want to order a second piece of pie, and it's
Yeah.
for me. And I want 12 cups of coffee, and I'm going to drink them all. I don't want to be with you. And then her just like staring at him and be like, what about meatloaf? Like, it's just so good. That said, I wonder, like I remember sending like these voice notes to you my first watch through of the show, you and my friend Evie.
Yeah.
For the two people I'd message about this, and send like ongoing voice notes on Discord about.
Yeah.
And I had so many about Nadine to be like, why the hell is this in here? Like, what? Why? And losing my mind. And I think I have a voice note here where I was like, oh, this scene makes that entire plot line worth it. Like, I wonder if I can dig that up. Like, I'll go searching through our messages,
Yeah,
or maybe
we'll
it's like
see,
to
yeah.
Evie, but seeing if I can find that message where I talk about like Nadine's plot line and be like, yeah, like this one scene is just so good.
It's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Mike. Poor kid,
Yeah.
but I'm a fan of him.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts about the show? Any?
Well, it's interesting because like this puts a bow on it theoretically, right? For me, of the episodes
We
we've
have
watched
completed
so far.
one arc for you.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm curious of like one where your ranking goes, like if it's gonna be the next one or like the previous episode, or because it seems like this is like a group of episodes together, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what arc I'll be watching next and what context I'll get. I am enjoying the earlier episodes as opposed to the later episodes, and I think that's because I'm getting more context. Like maybe that's why I like them more. But I have to say, episode 16 is a great place to start Twin Peaks. It's a great starting point to start off with.
16
So-
was the last one we watched where Josie dies.
Was it 16? No, okay.
We started
I meant
with
the previous
15,
one.
yes.
Was it 15? Okay.
So
15 is
the
best
order
one.
we've watched it in so far is 15, 14, 16, 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15's a great place to start.
Yeah,
Great.
15 is the one with where Diane Keaton directed it, and that's where the affair in not Twin Peaks, the rich
yeah.
woman's plotline gets wrapped up. That's where we start to see Josie's plotline be wrapped up. Yeah, but we actually see them all end on 16. So.
Okay. Yeah, 15's great. I will say that. This has been a great watch order so far.
It has been interesting. So there's a lot of different arcs in Twin Peaks, as you can probably imagine from
Yeah.
this. It really enjoys having its side plots. After this, so for other people, they rank this whole they rank like 11, 12, 10, all as part of like this bad run. And so like in the normal version, we would have already seen 11. We would have already seen 12 actually as well.
Right. Okay.
I rank them higher because I actually like the stuff that they're doing with it, even if it's not as good as everything else.
Okay.
After that, with all the different plot lines, I don't know how you're going to keep track of it because they all start to it really mixes it up, because after that, despite all the different story arc, like you got this in a bundle where it's like, oh, this is something I can make sense of in terms of story arc.
Right.
I don't think that's happening pretty much anymore. I think we're gonna start jumping by wild amounts.
Noted. Okay, I'll definitely bring back the notebook.
Yeah.
For
So
the
when
next
you were like,
episode.
oh, we're experimenting. The next episode and maybe the episode after that are the closest we're gonna get to like continuing this. And then after that, it is gonna be off the map. It's gonna be all over the place. Like,
okay. This was like the start off before the roller coaster starts going really fast.
Yeah.
It's like
well,
that.
well, because like, if you have a couple of bad arcs that are bundled together, like the affair plot line and the Civil War arc, they're gonna drag all the episodes that are involved with that into around the same area.
Right.
Soon, there's not really, if there's a weak point in a few of them, they're in different spots, and so like it'll start to mesh together, But yeah, it's
Okay, I'm excited. I'm very excited.
yeah. So that'll be a fun next set of things there. How'd you feel about watching this one without the notebook, since we were experimenting with that in the first place?
I was able to keep track of a lot of different things better. I definitely, but I think that's because I recognize like this is like the bow on this arc for me, right? And so I was able to look at it better and remember the characters a lot better. And so that's why I'm curious of like the next couple episodes, like Ernie, I feel like is a good indication of like, okay, now we're introducing like new characters, like now we're figuring like we're getting into more of the meat part of Twin Peaks that everyone seems so excited about. So yeah, I'm excited to see.
What's your we started in a weird spot. I meant to ask you about this, but so much happened in this episode because it is like the capstone to this other plot line, right?
Yeah.
So like so much happened in this episode, I forgot to ask you. what'd you think about the start of this episode with Garland Briggs, the Major, sitting on a throne in the middle of the woods,
Yeah,
talking about
okay.
Blue Book and
So, remember how was it last episode that you showed me the lady that was sitting in a chair
the log lady?
talking
Yes,
about
yes.
yeah, the log lady. Yeah. Okay, I for a second thought like, "Oh, this is like another log thing." Like this is like a dude in a chair talking about shit. But then that was part of the actual episode.
Yes, correct.
And so I was confused at the beginning as to what the frick was going on. So I still am confused as to what that is about. Yeah.
Any thoughts?
No thoughts. Just why like questions more than thoughts. Is like, why was he in the jungle sitting on a throne? And what is up with like they clearly like the scar on the back of his head. But is that the start of a plot line or is that the end of a plot line? Like that's where I'm confused.
Do you want the answer to that?
Oh, do I want the answer to that?
Because I don't think that's giving
don't.
too much away, but also,
Okay. I don't think I want the answer
Gotcha.
because he does show up. I can't remember what they talked about, but he shows up within that group of episodes we've watched, right?
Yes,
But it was briefly.
yes.
It was briefly, but I don't
I think
remember.
he shows up twice. Once where he's
Okay.
like or maybe just the one time where like he got away from the Navy people who grabbed him, and there's that long
Yes.
scene where they drink the water and then
Yes. I don't remember what they were talking about though.
Oh,
so that's
he just
why I'm
says,
like,
I'm free. They were looking for the White Lodge, and if you need me, I'll be in the shadows. And then I think
that's right, the White Lodge. That's
yes,
right. The White
yes,
Lodge.
yes.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Yeah, well, come back to. I'll circle back on that. I'll circle back on that in my head. Because, like, yeah, like I said, I don't know if that's like the beginning of a plot line or the end of one. Because it's confusing to me as to what the frick is going on there. It seems like it's the end of a plot line, but I don't know. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that doesn't change what you think this show is about
Yeah.
at all. Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. All right. Well, I think that'll be wrap it up because I interwove my review throughout of why I rank it where I rank it. I actually think this episode, I can't remember what happens in the next few.
Okay.
Watching this with you, I remember vaguely what happens in the next few, but
Okay.
watching this with you, like I really enjoyed this and really had the comedic highlights. But there's the one stinker of Denise in the suit and me seeing past the Matrix that like sinks this episode really heavily for me.
Fair.
Right? But like, you know, again, I tend to think of this arc a lot more favorably than other people do.
Okay.
So yeah, there's the condensed version of that review. Where we still have a few more lingering in this area coming up. But they're jumping around enough that I think it will still be like, okay, what? Like we're in my personal opinion, we're out of the woods. We're into the good Twin Peaks.
Okay.
So yeah. That'll be that then.
Yay.
Okay. We are going backwards in time for the next episode. I will reveal that much. What do you think? You have the list, so without revealing what episode it is, you can see how far back it is in messages.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think will not necessarily happen, but will be revealed to you specifically in this?
Okay. Looking at the list. Okay. Yeah, we are going.
I'll edit this part out. We're on episode 13. We're going to episode 10.
Okay. What will be revealed to me? I want to see more of Norma and Ed. I don't know why, and Nadine by that extension. an extension of their plot line. I'm curious about Josie's plotline and how that kicks off. So I'm wondering if we'll get more background information about Josie in that episode. Because, like, I don't know how far back that she tries to kill Andrew. So I'm curious to see that.
Okay.
And I do want to figure out how Shelly and Bobby got into that situation with Leo. Because, like, they're supposed to be in high school. So why is Shelly in a not built house taking care of... I didn't know Leo was wheelchair bound. So that adds...
That's right, because you saw the part where they rolled the wheelchair and you're like, oh, that's weird. What, ghosts? Yeah. You didn't realize that was like Leo's wheelchair.
Leo's wheelchair, yeah. So, like, I want to know more of that. So I hope the next episode touches on that.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. I will say this much, and then we'll actually wrap up. This is potentially in my personal list as far as we can go without needing to commit to this version of the watch.
Okay.
Because next episode is this epilogue episode for what was Twin Peaks the entire time before.
Oh.
With, like,
okay.
Big reveal, like, not reveals because people do, but, like, if you don't know, you can't not know what.
Okay.
You know, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like if we were reading Sherlock Holmes and then it started with this person's the killer and then you read the mystery.
Okay.
It's what we're about to get to. I think.
Okay.
So
good to know.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll be back. I'm sure people have already guessed what the next episode is. If you haven't, please, maybe I should do these hints of kind of what the next episode's about so people can try to guess. Maybe that's a way. Please engage with this. I live off of engagement, so guess what the next episode is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, David Lynch for season 3 has said that, like, well, to back it up a little bit farther, actually.
Okay.
Like, Twin Peaks was kind of the start of prestige television. Like, obviously it wasn't there yet, but that's kind of like how, like, there are so many clear indications of, like, where, like, what Sopranos ended up doing, which is really where, prestige television comes from.
Right.
But, like, that idea of there's going to be this long story where we don't have to worry about individual episodes. We've talked about this before, right?
Yes.
Of like, oh, this is kind of like how that kind of stuff came to be.
Right.
And then, so for season 3, he was really like, David Lynch, like, made and Mark Frost. I don't want to keep leaving Mark Frost out of it because he's a major part of this as well, and is, like, also, like, really into weird esoteric shit. A lot of people are like, oh, the weirdness that comes from Twin Peaks comes from David Lynch. No, Mark Frost is also a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Affectionate. Parentheses affectionate. But in season 3, they made a concerted effort to say, a majority of this could be watched in any order, as if to combat what they did and laid the path for before.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, to the point where I was going to bring this up when we watched the first season 3 thing, but, like, it's not a spoiler. I'll bring it up here. There are sequences in that entire season that are out of order, which makes this very funny as a project.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, if that informs anything about what you want to do as far as the movie goes.
Okay. I would say, what is the last episode of season 2?
The last episode of season 2, actually, or last episode that's on my list?
Actually, like, what is the number?
22.
22. Okay. Uh
Which, as you can see, is very high up on my list.
yeah, that is very high up. I see. That's hard. Cuz like you said the movie goes in between season 2 and season 3.
Yeah.
But I don't want to wait that long. Where would you rank season 2? Like if you were to slot the movie into your list, where would you put it? Like between what episodes?
So what we're since we decided to record again, what we're discussing is whether we're including the missing pieces in a huge edit or not. And I think that changes things. I think with the edit, I would probably rate that maybe and then I'm gonna bleep this out because I don't want listeners to know where I rate that. But it'd be high. For you, I would I'll tell you that I think I would probably rate it in between.
Okay. You know, I would be curious to what, like, if we were to split it, like, I would be getting the context of things before they happen, right? And so I'm wondering if that basically, Mac, my decision.
What's the funniest option? What is the funniest option?
Yeah.
I think the funniest option is to split it and have us watching missing pieces at some time pretty soon. I do think that is the funniest option, actually, now that we're discussing it.
That's why I'm trying to. What's the most fucked up way that we should watch this? Is kind of like where my head is at. And so if that is coming up soon, then I would say let's watch the missing pieces first, wherever that comes up, and then I'll get the context of it when we watch the movie. I think that'd be very funny.
J idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So we do split it. We do this. And then to cap it off, we'll schedule like a watch party or something with people to watch the combined version of it for like on stream or Discord or whatever of like. Right? That could be a fun thing. Is like we'll split it for the actual list and then like as a celebration that we made it through the series to watch a combined version together at the end.
Okay, I kind of like that. I like that.
Okay, cool. I'll figure out where that goes. I think I need to actually watch Missing Pieces by myself, because I don't think I've ever seen it like that. Actually, I know which scenes are which, but like I don't think I've ever seen it that way. Because when I got like 10 minutes in, I was like, I thought so. Story time about Missing Pieces. Okay. I had initially started it thinking it was the actual Fire Walk with Me because I was watching it totally legally, and I was like, okay, I had heard, because like this entire time I had heard like, oh, Mark Frost has nothing to do with Fire Walk with Me, and like I had heard David Lynch was like, you know, a weird director, but this, you know, was he was kind of reined in by everybody, right? And so like as the movie starts, as I go through it, I'm like, wow, this really is just disjointed bullshit, like in a great way. I love it, but like I was like, oh, is this David Lynch's style? Because like there's not a sense of anything to this. Because and then like a little while in, I was like, there's one specific scene in there where I'm like, this doesn't matter at all. Why is this in here? Like it was great. I was laughing my ass off. But like for anyone who knows, it's the fight scene. And that's all I need to say about it for anyone who's seen Missing Pieces. And I was like, this can't be what this movie is. This cannot be. And so I looked it up and I found out that was like the Missing Pieces. I was like, oh, okay. And so at that point I was like, fuck it, I've already seen part of it. Let's watch the edit, the Blue Rose edit and watch that. And so like, I don't think I've ever seen it just by itself except for up until that point. So I have to watch that and see where I rank it.
Okay.
But I think that may come up. We'll need to schedule that coming up pretty soon then, because I think that may beat out episode 2 or lose to episode 2.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, we figured it out.
Good. Yeah,
Yay.
if that's what we decide to do, then I think we should promote that we're going to watch the movie at the end of this, like a few times throughout the series then.
Yeah.
But I like that idea for sure.
Okay.
And the funniest option is to watch that separate. God, oh no. It's going to ruin what you think Twin Peaks is.